We've had AM5 CPUs now for several years with DDR5 RAM, but with DDR5 RAM prices spiraling seemingly out of control and questionable performance upgrades between the Ryzen 7 and 9000 series, is AM5 a total failure, especially when we compare it to AM4? Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is our February 2026 Q&A part 2. We're going to answer that question, as well as should you upgrade your PSU once the warranty runs out, or are you safe to keep it going? We'll talk about liquid versus air cooling in 2026. Do liquid coolers still leak? And we'll look at WOLED versus QD-OLED gaming panels. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Meter, the company building better networks. Is your business struggling with networking? Unable to scale and manage for your needs? You should check out Meter. Meter builds out full stack networking solutions that actually work for business. That's because they manage every aspect. Meter designs the hardware, they write the firmware, and they build the software. So it all works together. And Meter's networking solutions are built to give you maximum control with deep visibility, policy level control, and ongoing support, and all at a price that works for your business. If you're ready to offload your networking headaches to a trusted partner, go to meter.com/PCBuilder to book a demo now, or click the link in the video description. All right, we got Walktail Boy. In my opinion, is AM5 overrated? They're thinking the Ryzen 7 5800X, 5950X, 5700 X3D is plenty for most GPUs. Obviously, you left out the 5800 X3D, which is kind of the GOAT CPU. And I would go one step further with this question, because I don't just think it's a question, is AM5 overrated? I think, has AM5 failed as a socket? Has it failed fundamentally as a socket? I actually think the answer to that question is probably yes when you judge it against its competition, and its most obvious competition is AM4, which is what you point out as well, AM4 CPUs. And if you think about this, AM4 launched 2016, 2017 with the Ryzen 1000 series. We got Ryzen 1000, 2000, 3000, 5000. There was a 4000, but it was really kind of a garbage CPU tier. 4 generations of CPUs on that, including then we got an X3D CPU that you could almost regard the 5800 X3D, 5700 X3D as its own generation itself. So you almost want to say it's like 5 generations of CPUs on this. Insane value. Imagine if you put together Ryzen 1600X with a B350 and now you're rocking a 5800 X3D on that thing with the same 32 gigabyte kit of memory on it, or 16 gigabyte kit of memory, even DDR4. Like, that was so insane for AM4 to go through that series. And let's also just talk about the pricing of it, of AM4 versus AM5. AM5 has been stupidly expensive. AMD, it has been stupidly expensive, and you know it. You know it. Let's talk about AM4. You used to have to compete against Intel because you were just about on the verge of bankruptcy when you launched Ryzen 1000 on the AM4 socket. So yes, on the one hand, it didn't beat Intel initially in gaming, kind of came somewhat close enough, way better than crappy Bulldozer that did the FX series of CPUs you had before that on AM3. And at the same time, we got more than 4 cores because Intel was drip feeding us just 4 cores and slight performance increases, kind of like maybe AMD is doing right now. Is AMD setting itself up for future failure? I think that Intel, especially with Panther Lake and how impressive that has looked, they may have something cooking with Nova Lake later this year. We'll talk about that in just a bit, but let's talk more about AM4 versus AM5. So AM4, super longevity, tons of CPUs to upgrade. You could get in relatively cheap on the platform. The only one they tried to overcharge for was Ryzen 5000. They had the 5600X coming in at $299, and it was way too expensive, even though it beat Intel, because they finally beat Intel. Like, okay, now we're going to charge Intel prices. And they did this with a chiplet technology. Remember, they went to chiplets, so you could actually put more cores on the CPU than you could using the monolithic method that Intel was doing, which would cost more money. And then we got the 3950X, which was the first 16-core CPU. And then we've had 12 and 16-core CPUs. Now it just seems like a matter of course. And Intel finally started to fight back with more cores, but they kind of screwed it up. They thought, well, just go more cores, but AMD then switched it up on them. Not only do you get cores, now you get X3D with the 5800 X3D. And so it was just like AMD used AM4 to stay one step ahead. Then AM5 came out and DDR5 RAM was stupid expensive. It was almost as expensive then as it is now, right? So, and we had an alternative back then, which is DDR4, which is way cheaper. It wasn't as cheap as DDR4 eventually got, but for $120, you could get a 32 gigabyte kit of DDR4 RAM and be off to the races with a 5800 X3D. In fact, in the fall after the 7000 series came out, we actually did a 5800 X3D build guide, and I told you, don't buy Ryzen 7000, buy the 5800 X3D because of the price to performance of that thing. It took a while for the price on DDR5 and everything to come down. Then we got Ryzen 9000 afterwards, and 9000, it was Zen 5%, because that's all the performance uplift we got. We got 5% because, again, AMD now looking at AI stuff. Oh, we got to add the NPU and all this AI garbage to your CPU. They've lost their focus on gaming. And yeah, as a result, the 9000 series has not been an upgrade to 7000 series unless you go to the X3D CPUs like a 9800 X3D. And then this year a year later, we're getting the 9850 X3D, which is a small overclock. And again, if you want to build a new gaming system, I think that CPU is probably the one to go with, especially you can get great combos with it. At Newegg right now, it comes with a free game. I'm not knocking you if you want to build a 9850 X3D. I'm just saying, I feel like we should have gotten more performance out of AMD by now. Obviously, we judge it not just against its previous competitor of AMD, but also what it was Intel offering, 12th, 13th, and 14th gen. 14th gen was just a rebrand, basically. So it's really 12th and 13th gen. 13th gen really felt like a big performance leap. Then they had the problems with the ring bus frying and CPUs burning up because Intel basically, flew a little too close to the sun with all the power that they were dumping into those things. And unfortunately, then we got Arrow Lake, and Arrow Lake's it was relatively awful at its introduction. It's gotten better because they've slashed pricing on it. Obviously, they're going to give it to you like half the price, then yeah, the price performance looks a lot better. And the Core Ultra 7 265K looks pretty good now for price to performance. So then what's next for AM5? Really, it's Zen 6, where they're going to up the core count, but is that even going to give us more gaming performance? So it's hard to say. And then Intel looks poised right now with Nova Lake towards the end of the year, if they are able to put it out this year. If not, it will probably be early 2027. So I got to tell you, AM5 has kind of been a step back for AMD, and I really hope they get their stuff together with Zen 6 and really focusing on price to performance. I'm just concerned with all the AI nonsense going on right now. They're just completely distracted. All right, Nathan wants to know, now that WOLED and QD-OLED have new panels that were shown at CES, which panel do you think has the edge in 2026? We did go through this, by the way, in our CES 2026 kind of roundup video. We went through all the new tech, including what's new is we've got 4th generation QD-OLED panels. Now, MSI had one that they said 5th generation. I said, that's not 5th generation. You're on 4. Don't get ahead of yourself. And then we've seen the 4th generation WOLED panels. Now, what's the difference between these? The 4th generation QD-OLED panels now have a new subpixel layout. It's more of a bar. It improves text clarity to it. And I could see in a side-by-side with the older 3rd generation QD-OLED, yeah, it is noticeable and it is nicer. Not to say that the old one's bad, but it is nicer. The Mars also have not like a new black coating on them that will enhance the blacks on them so they don't look a little purpley from neighboring pixels. Everybody's got a different name on it: Dark Armor, Obsidian Shield, all these kind of different names for what is essentially just a coating on the monitor itself to really help kind of nail down those deeper blacks. And then WOLED is brighter than the 4th gen QD-OLED, but I did see some QD-OLEDs that got quite bright, at least at CES 2026. And I will say the WOLED text clarity is still not quite as good as even the 3rd gen QD-OLED. For people who are primarily gaming or watching stuff on your, maybe you don't care, maybe you want that brighter screen, especially if you're in a bright environment, right? Like this is a pretty bright environment. Maybe you want something like that. I will say if you add it all up, it's all going to come down to pricing, because right now I still see the 4th gen WOLED panels out there at $550. Meanwhile, I can pick up a 3rd gen QD-OLED 240 Hz for like $380. So why am I paying $200 more for the WOLED? Oh, it's slightly brighter. So, I mean, like, it is a nicer package that Gigabyte puts together with the KVM switches and everything. But those are like nice to have, but I don't need to have them. And I don't think those features are worth $200. So to me, it's just like, I like the 3rd gen QD-OLED. I like the 4th generation WOLED. I like the newer 4th gen QD-OLED panels. And we should start getting these later in the year. But don't overpay for it, because what they tend to do with these gaming monitors is they'll dump them on the market at a stupid price. It'll sit there. If all these early adopters buy it at too high a price, it won't sell that well. Then they'll drop it down in price in order to meet the old stuff, right? Where the old stuff is selling at. And that's where you're going to want to buy it. I mean, maybe by Black Friday, we'll see like a maturity enough in these panels to be able to buy them with the right pricing. In the meantime, if you want a 3rd gen QD-OLED panel, I mean, spend $400 and go get yourself one, because they're phenomenal. When you compare that versus LCD, there's no comparison. Mini LED is getting closer. The newer mini LEDs looked really nice. And then you don't have to worry about burn-in. The text clarity is slightly better. So maybe consider that. But still, I mean, listen, OLED is still better in terms of HDR content, even the 3rd generation QD-OLED panel. So I just want to kind of throw this out there that it's all going to come down to price, basically, really the features that you're looking for. And I honestly don't feel like there's a big enough difference between these panels to wait for them, and definitely not to pay a hefty price premium, maybe a small price premium. We got a great question on liquid versus air cooling in 2026. Plain Aviation, I plan on building a PC, still don't know if I should go with an AIO or an air cooler. They're worried the AIO is gonna leak and damage the motherboard or the GPU. They're gonna be using a Ryzen 7 9850 X3D with the RTX 5070 Ti OC. Will manufacturers cover damaged parts if it leaks? Well, typically they will, but kind of good luck getting the damages. But here's what I want to tell you. AIOs almost never leak anymore. Back in the day of PCs, when the tubing was like plastic, like really crappy plastic, and the fittings weren't well done, and the construction of these was just total garbage. I probably find some good stock footage of some of these older coolers that you look at now. It's like, oh my gosh, how do we even ever used to use these things? Yeah, they were total garbage. And in fact, they did leak from time to time. They would even melt from time to time, some of the tubes. These days, the tubes themselves have several different layers to go through before they would leak. The fittings are much better done. Just everything about these coolers is way more advanced than it was back in the days when they used to leak. Now, I'm sure if I Googled, AIO leaking, I'm sure, could you find a post or two on Reddit about somebody's AI? Of course you could, probably. I don't think, though, today that's something that I would really worry about. It's almost like worrying about, your fan on your air cooler blowing out your motherboard or something. Again, you probably search, find somebody who that happened to, but is that really a concern that you should be worried about and should influence your buying decision? For me, I've used liquid coolers. This is a liquid cooler, obviously the company that can no longer sell in the US, Deep Cool, but we've used liquid cooling on pretty much all of our PCs for quite a long time. I do like air coolers. We have done quite a few builds with air coolers as well. For the 9850 X3D, that's kind of a premium build. I would say I like the fact that this cooler is able to dissipate heat and just with a way better, and again, I tune the fan curve a little bit. It's not that hard to do, but you do have to tune it. You do want to tune the pump noise too. This does not run at 100%. This pump runs at, I think it's like 83%. I just basically start at 100% and just take it down until I can't hear the pump anymore. And then I just leave the pump at that steady state speed. On another build I did recently, it was like 87%. It was pretty quiet pump. And then the fan speed, same thing. I tune all of that. I would do that with an air cooler anyway, right? I would definitely tune the air cooler. With the air cooler though, you just don't have as much heat soak. So this AIO with the liquid in it, because liquid absorbs so much more heat mass basically than just an air cooler can, just with the metal in it, you do get some additional ramp up time where it doesn't have to ramp the fans really hard. And I like that. To me, it's a quality of life feature and I'm willing to pay the money for it. But I do recognize I probably paid an extra 30 or 40 bucks in order to have a liquid cooler where I could have gotten a dual tower air cooler for a 9850 X3D. There's no right answer to this. I don't want to make it sound like there's a right answer. If you're like, Jason, I'm going to stay up at night worried about my cooler leaking if I go with liquid, then get an air cooler. They're fine. They're great. There's a number of really good dual tower coolers out there that I would recommend for the 9850 X3D. Check out our 9850 X3D build guide. We go through a couple of them. in there. To me, that's a premium enough build that I'd also want to do like some cool RGB and everything. And I do like the aesthetics of a liquid cooler because it's not this big hunk of metal that's taking up all this space in my PC. Now with like lower end CPUs, like a Ryzen 7600X, where you can just use a budget tower air cooler, I would probably tend to go with that because we're trying to save some money. Although certainly, like if you pick up a combo deal with a liquid cooler, I'd use the liquid cooler. But if you're trying to save some money, I'd go with an air cooler on it. I also don't think the budget tower air coolers look that bad. They're pretty thin, they're pretty low profile, and I kind of like the way they look. So it's all gonna come down to that. I just wouldn't worry about them leaking anymore. That is very much a 2013 kind of fear. We got a number of questions I wanted to answer about upgrading your PSU, or when do you need to get rid or switch out your PSU? We got Boone Jins, I hope I'm saying that right. Is it pointless to upgrade a PSU right now in anticipation for next gen cards? They can get a really good deal on one right now. Do you think GPU power connections will change? Should you just wait? And then Kruznek says, hey Jason, in your opinion, do you believe you should immediately replace your PSU as soon as the warranty period expires? They are approaching the 6-year mark on their B tier unit. First of all, check out our best PSU. We're gonna re-up that for 2026 very, very soon. So I'll leave it link down in the video description. It's under our how to build a PC playlist. So as soon as it goes live, it'll go in that playlist, but you can check out the old one for just general guidelines in terms of how to buy a PSU, including get one from the SPL PSU tier list that's C tier or higher rated. And if you're gonna have higher end components, I would go up that tier list. You have a B tier rated unit. I would say 6 years. I tried to do some additional research. All I can come up with is this generic PSU should last 5 to 10 years. Nobody knows. This is one of these things where it's not really possible to generalize. The PSU is the component, however, that probably takes the biggest beating in your build. It's the component that will typically wear out the first. GPUs will go for decades at times. Obviously, you might have to replace a fan. In terms of the circuitry itself and getting an output out of it, as long as you keep the fan spinning, it'll run forever. CPU, same thing. It takes a long time to get any kind of degradation. RAM also will last for quite a while before it'll start kicking ears. All circuitry obviously degrades over time. But if you look at everything else, the things that are gonna get hammered the most are if you have a liquid cooler, it will, about 6 years, you should start thinking about replacing it or refilling it if it's refillable due to evaporation, basically, of some of the fluid over time. The other component is the PSU, and it just takes a beating from transferring the current and doing all the PSU stuff out there. So I would tend to, like at about the 6-year mark, I would start thinking about replacing it. But by that time, you're probably thinking about a new PC anyway, unless you have like an AM4 system and you're gonna dump a 5800 X3D. I would probably use that upgrade cycle then to go ahead and also upgrade the PSU. Should you be buying a PSU right now in anticipation of a new GPU? Yeah, you can get great deals right now. I'd say go ahead and take advantage of those deals. I don't see any reason why, especially if you want to get it and if it can serve you well right now. Even if it's just gonna sit in a box, there's great deals going on right now. I don't think it's pointless to upgrade. Take advantage of the deals when you can get them. I think that we've learned that one the hard way. Links for all those Newegg combos are down in the video description. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. I really appreciate it. So does Mr. Bear, who has abandoned me today. He will be back in a future episode. Mr. Bear will return, of course. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Like, did you check out our best CPU GPU combo in 2026? We go through all the CPU GPU combos, which one's right for you. Check out the best Ryzen motherboards in 2026. What's the best Ryzen motherboard value right now? And we'll catch you on the next one.